You're scrolling through your phone while sitting in traffic on a crumbling highway. The news headlines flash warnings about government corruption, skyrocketing debt, and social unrest. Sound familiar? 2,000 years ago, a Roman citizen might have experienced something eerily similar. They too watched their once mighty empire succumb to the very forces that many argue are threatening America today. The Roman Empire wasn't just a historical juggernaut. It was a masterclass in power, ambition, and ultimately, collapse. At its peak, Rome controlled 2.3 million square miles, governed 70 million people, and built aqueducts that still stand today. Its legions were unmatched, its roads revolutionized trade, and its laws shaped Western civilization. Yet by 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire was gone, overrun by barbarians and eroded from within. The US, with its global military, economic dominance, and cultural exports, mirrors Rome's power. But are we also mirroring its decline? From ballooning debt to social unrest, the signs are hard to ignore. Rome's decline accelerated rapidly once critical thresholds were crossed. Today, some experts suggest America is approaching those same dangerous tipping points. Rome's economy was a marvel, trade networks spanning from Britain to Egypt, a currency system that held value for centuries. But over time, emperors devalued the denarius, inflating it to fund lavish projects and war. By the 3rd century, the silver content in coins dropped from 90% to barely 5%, sparking hyperinflation. Merchants lost trust, prices soared, and the economy buckled. Sound familiar? The US national debt is over $33 trillion in 2025, with interest payments projected to hit $1 trillion annually by 2030. Like Rome, America funds endless wars, $8.7 trillion spent on post-9/11 conflicts and massive entitlement programs, while the dollar's global dominance wanes as nations like China push for alternatives. In 2023, Fitch downgraded US credit from AAA to AA+, citing fiscal deterioration. Rome's lesson? Unsustainable spending erodes empires. Without fiscal discipline, America risks a similar spiral. The parallels become even more unsettling when we examine government spending patterns. Rome's emperors discovered that the easiest way to maintain power was to keep citizens satisfied with what became known as bread and circuses, free grain distributions, and lavish entertainment. The Roman poet Juvenal coined this phrase as a scathing critique of how the masses traded their political engagement for immediate gratification. Citizens who once debated policy in the forum now cared only that their basic needs were met and their entertainment spectacular. Today, America spends trillions on various forms of social programs, while simultaneously funding a massive entertainment industry. Like Rome, we've created systems where immediate satisfaction takes precedence over long-term sustainability. The average American spends over 7 hours daily consuming entertainment media, a modern equivalent of Roman circuses. Meanwhile, our government borrows $1 trillion every 100 days, mortgaging our future to fund present consumption. The most chilling parallel lies in the psychological impact. Roman citizens became increasingly dependent on government support, losing the civic virtue and self-reliance that had built their republic. Rome's Senate was once a beacon of republican virtue, but by the empire's later years, it was a cesspool of bribery and self-interest. Emperors like Nero and Caligula ruled through fear, while senators auctioned power to the highest bidder. Political instability bred distrust, fracturing unity. Today, the US faces its own political quagmire. Partisan gridlock paralyzes Congress, with approval ratings hovering around 20%. Scandals like insider trading allegations against lawmakers in 2020 fuel cynicism. The January 6, 2021 Capitol riot exposed how far division has gone, with 74% of Americans in a 2024 poll saying the country is more divided than ever. Rome teaches us that when leaders prioritize power over principle, the system crumbles. The corruption parallels are equally striking. Roman officials like Verus, governing Sicily, allegedly planned 3 years of embezzlement, 1 year to enrich himself, 1 to pay lawyers for inevitable trials, and 1 to bribe juries. Today, American politics involves massive fundraising operations where access and influence are routinely bought and sold. The revolving door between government and industry creates conflicts of interest that would have been familiar to Roman senators. Rome's legions were its backbone, but maintaining a sprawling empire stretched them thin. By the 4th century, Rome had over 500,000 troops stationed across far-flung borders, draining resources. When invasions came, like the Visigoths sacking Rome in 410 AD, the legions were too spread out to respond effectively. The US maintains over 700 overseas military bases, costing $150 billion annually. From Afghanistan to Syria, prolonged conflicts have exhausted troops and budgets with little strategic gain. The 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal, leaving behind $7 billion in equipment, echoed Rome's retreat from frontier provinces. Overextension weakens readiness. In 2023, the Pentagon reported only 60% of active duty forces were combat ready due to resource strain. Rome's lesson is clear. Empires that overreach militarily invite vulnerability. The psychological impact mirrors Rome's experience. Roman citizens became disconnected from military service as the empire relied increasingly on foreign mercenaries. Similarly, less than 1% of Americans serve in the military, creating a civilian-military divide that would have been unthinkable during World War II. This disconnect enables endless wars with minimal public accountability. Rome's early strength came from shared values, duty, discipline, and family. But as wealth grew, so did decadence. Gladiatorial games distracted the masses, while elites indulged in excess. In America, cultural shifts are stark. A 2022 Gallup poll found that only 38% of Americans have great pride in their country, down from 70% in 2003. Social media amplifies division, with algorithms pushing outrage over unity. The opioid crisis, claiming 70,000 lives annually, reflects a deeper malaise. Rome's citizens stopped believing in their republic. If Americans lose faith in their institutions, the social fabric unravels, just as it did in Rome. Most ominously, Americans are losing faith in the future. Birth rates have fallen below replacement levels. Young people report unprecedented levels of anxiety and depression, and many doubt whether the next generation will be better off than their parents. This psychological shift from optimism to pessimism preceded Rome's final collapse. Rome didn't fall in a day. External threats like Germanic tribes and the Huns exploited internal weaknesses. Corruption, economic woes, and disunity made Rome ripe for conquest. The US faces its own external pressures. China's economic rise, Russia's aggression, and cyber threats from state and non-state actors. In 2024, cyber attacks cost US companies $12.5 billion, exposing vulnerabilities. But internal weaknesses, polarization, distrust in the media, and declining education amplify these threats. Rome's fall shows that external enemies only succeed when internal rot paves the way. Rome's collapse wasn't inevitable. Periods of reform, like Augustus's reign, revived its strength. The US can learn from this. Fiscal restraint could curb debt. In the 1990s, balanced budgets briefly stabilized the economy. Political reform, like campaign finance transparency, could restore trust. Military streamlining, focusing on core threats, could preserve resources. Culturally, fostering civic education and community engagement could rebuild unity. Real-world examples show hope. Post-World War II, America united to build the world's strongest economy. But time is short. Rome ignored its cracks until they became chasms. Will America act or follow the same path to decline? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.